The HFY warship hung in the darkness of space like a predator waiting to strike. High Commandant Zethvora stood at the viewing window of his command bridge, his scaled face showing no emotion as he watched the blue and green planet below. Kepler 442b, a human colony. A prize waiting to be taken. Commandant, his second officer said, bowing low. The fleet is in position. 200 ships await your command. Zethvora turned slowly. His yellow eyes moved across the bridge where dozens of his crew worked at their stations. The HFY Dominion had conquered 1,000 worlds across 10,000 years. They had crushed species that thought themselves powerful. They had eaten civilizations whole and left nothing behind but dust and memory dot, and now they had come for the humans. What do we know of these creatures? Zethvora asked, though he already knew the answer. He had read every report. He had studied every image. He had laughed at what he found. They are Class 7 soft bodies, Commandant. No natural armor. No claws, no venom. They live perhaps 80 years if disease does not take them first. Their technology is primitive compared to ours. They have colonized only 17 star systems in 300 years. Weak, Zethvora said. The word tasted good in his mouth. Very weak, Commandant. The Galactic Concordat considers them a minor species. They keep to themselves. They trade little. They fight less. Some elder species have studied them, but the reports are strange. Strange how? The officer hesitated. The Kathrani have classified their human studies at the highest level. They refuse to share their findings. When we requested access, their ambassador said only that we should leave the humans alone. Zethvora laughed. It was a cold sound, like bones breaking. The Kathrani are old and fearful. They see danger in shadows. These humans are nothing but soft meat and fragile bones. They will bow or they will burn. He pressed a button on his command chair. His voice echoed across 200 ships. Begin the transmission. Far below on Kepler 442b, the people of New Helsinki were having an ordinary day. Children played in parks under an alien sun. Workers built homes and roads in dreams. Sarah Chun, a retired admiral of the United Terran Navy, was teaching her daughter Maya how to ride a bicycle in their backyard. Then the sky turned dark with ships. Every screen on the planet flickered. Every radio crackled. And the face of High Commandant Zethvora appeared before 8 million humans. People of this world, his translated voice said, you stand on ground that now belongs to the HFY Dominion. Your planet is rich with resources we require. Your location is useful to our expansion. You have 1 hour to surrender your colony to our forces. If you refuse, we will take it by force. If you resist, we will destroy you. This is not a negotiation. This is a fact. The transmission ended. Admiral Chun stood frozen in her backyard, her hand still on Maya's bicycle. She had served 40 years in the Terran Navy. She had seen battles and blood and death. She had hoped those days were behind her. Mom? Maya's voice was small and scared. What's happening? Chun looked at her daughter. Then she looked at the sky full of monsters. Go inside, sweetheart. Find your father. Stay together. She walked to her communication terminal and opened a channel to the colonial governor. Around the planet, other veterans were doing the same thing. Old soldiers who had put down their weapons. Old warriors who had chosen peace. They remembered what they were. And they knew what was coming. The colonial governor, a young man named David Okonkwo, addressed the HFY fleet from the Capitol building. His voice did not shake. His hands did not tremble. Behind him stood every member of the Colonial Council. This is Governor David Okonkwo of the Kepler 442b colony. We are citizens of the United Terran Republic. We reject your demands. This is our home. We will not surrender it. We will not leave it. And we will not bow to you or anyone else. High Commandant Zethvara watched the transmission with amusement. He had seen this before. The brave words. The proud stance. They always broke in the end. Every species broke when enough of them died. Target the 3 largest cities, he ordered. Orbital bombardment. Full power. And make sure to broadcast it to their home planet. Let Earth see what happens to those who refuse the Dominion. The Vrethkai ships opened fire. New Helsinki died in fire. 340,000 humans, men, women, and children were burned to ash in minutes. The schools, the hospitals, the parks where children had played that morning. All gone, all burning, all dead. Maya Chun was in one of those cities. She was 9 years old. She liked bicycles and strawberry ice cream and stories about space explorers. She never got to finish learning how to ride Dot. Her mother watched from a bunker outside the blast zone. She watched the mushroom clouds rise. She watched her world end. And something inside her went very cold and very quiet. Across human space, billions watched the massacre. They saw the fire. They heard the screams. They witnessed the moment when an alien empire killed their children and laughed about it. High Commandant Zethvara expected panic. He expected surrender. He expected begging and pleading and broken spirits. What he got was silence. Then a single transmission came from Earth, from the United Terran Council, from every human who had ever lived and died and fought and survived. You have made a mistake that cannot be unmade. Pray to whatever gods you have. Zethvara laughed again. Empty threats from a beaten species. He had seen it all before, but across the galaxy, those who knew better were not laughing. The Kathrani ambassador to the Galactic Concordat was one of the oldest living beings in known space. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched species evolve and die. He had studied humans for 200 years, and he had never shared his findings because he knew no one would believe him. Now he gathered his staff in his private chambers. His ancient hands trembled as he spoke. Begin evacuation of all Kathrani citizens from Vrethkai space. Immediately. Do not wait for official channels. Do not explain. Just leave, Ambassador? His aide asked. What is happening? The Vrethkai have just won a great victory. The old Kathrani looked at his young aide with eyes that had seen too much. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. They have not won anything. They have just woken something that should have been left sleeping. The humans have a saying that I have never forgotten. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. The Vrethkai have just made peace impossible. He turned to the window and stared at the stars. And now the humans will teach them what that means. The Galactic Concordat Senate was the largest gathering of intelligent species in the known universe. 4,000 different races sent representatives to this ancient station at the center of civilized space. They debated. They traded. They formed alliances and broke them. They had done this for 1,000,000 years. Today, they were afraid. Senator Vrixenol of the Halorian Collective stood at the central podium, his gelatinous body shaking with confusion. I do not understand the panic. The Vrethkai have conquered a minor human colony. This happens. Species expand. Others fall. It is the natural order. Murmurs of agreement came from the younger species. The ones who had never seen real war. The ones who thought they understood the galaxy. But the elder species were silent. The Kathrani. The Moldovaks. The ancient priests of the void. They sat in their seats and said nothing, and their silence was more frightening than any words. Why do the elders not speak? Vrixenol demanded. What do you know that we do not? The Kathrani ambassador rose slowly. His name was Kethvoran, and he was 900 years old. He had hoped to die before this day came. Now he knew he would not be so lucky. "You wish to know about humans," he said. His voice was tired. "Very well. I will tell you. And when I am finished, you will understand why we are afraid." He pressed a button and holographic images appeared above the Senate floor. Images of a small blue planet. Images of strange, soft creatures walking upright on two legs. Humans evolved on a world they call Earth. It is a death world. Their sun burns them. Their weather kills them. Their planet is covered with predators and poisons and diseases. By every measurement we use, humans should not exist. But they do. And that is the first lesson. He changed the image. Now it showed ancient humans, naked and small, facing massive creatures with teeth and claws. Humans are not strong. They are not fast. They have no armor, no venom, no natural weapons. But they have something else. They are persistent predators. Do you know what that means? Silence. It means they do not stop. Ever. On their world. They hunted by following their prey for days, weeks, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. The prey could run faster. The prey could fight harder. But humans just kept coming. They walked across continents. They tracked animals through deserts and jungles and mountains. They never stopped, never rested, never gave up. Until the prey simply fell down and died. The Senate was very quiet now. But that is not all. Humans consume neurotoxins for pleasure. Capsaicin, the chemical that makes food burn, they put it on everything. Caffeine, a natural pesticide, they drink it every morning. Alcohol, a poison that kills cells, they drink it to celebrate. Their bodies can process toxins that would kill most species in seconds. He showed more images. Humans with wolves. Humans with massive predators called bears and tigers and sharks. They form pack bonds with anything. They took wolves, pack hunters with fangs and claws, and turned them into companions. They did this through sheer patience and stubbornness. Now wolves sleep in their homes and guard their children. They have done this with countless predators. They do not fear them. They befriend them. More images. Humans with missing limbs. Humans with scars. Humans with metal replacing bone. They heal from wounds that would kill any other species. They lose limbs and survive. They suffer injuries that should be fatal, and they continue fighting. We have documented cases of humans fighting for hours with broken bones and torn muscles. They feel pain. They simply ignore it. Kethvoran paused. The Senate waited. But the most terrifying thing about humans is not their bodies. It is their minds. He showed images of mushroom clouds, cities in ruins, mass graves. Humans have spent most of their history trying to kill each other. They have fought thousands of wars. They have invented weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. They built nuclear bombs knowing those bombs could end their species. They built them anyway. They used them on each other. Gasps of horror from the younger species. And they survived. They survived everything they did to themselves. Every war. Every plague. Every disaster. They kept going. They rebuilt. They grew stronger. He showed images of a primitive spacecraft landing on a gray, lifeless moon. They walked on their moon before they had computers small enough to carry. They did it with mathematics and chemical rockets and a refusal to accept that it was impossible. They split atoms. They decoded their own genetic structure. They created artificial intelligence. All in a single century. Kethvoran looked around the silent Senate. Now do you understand? The Vrethkai have not conquered a weak species. They have attacked the most dangerous creatures this galaxy has ever seen. Creatures who have been holding themselves back. Creatures who chose peace because they know better than anyone what happens when they choose war. On Earth, those creatures were making choices. Admiral Sarah Chun stood in the United Terran Council chambers. She was not alone. Around her stood the survivors of humanity's last great war, a conflict that had nearly broken their species forever. They had sworn to never fight again. They had built a civilization of peace and exploration and hoped that now their children were ash on an alien world. The doctrine of proportional response is suspended, Supreme Chancellor Yuki Tanaka announced. Her voice was calm. Her eyes were not. In its place, we adopt the Kepler doctrine. She read the words that would change the galaxy forever. For every human life taken, 1,000 shall answer. We will not stop at victory. We will not stop at surrender. We will stop when our enemies understand, truly and completely, what they have done. And we will make certain the galaxy never forgets. The vote was unanimous. Across human space, factories that built civilian ships went dark. When they lit up again, they were building weapons. Veterans who had spent decades trying to forget their training remembered everything. Young people who had never known war volunteered by the millions dotting deep in Rethkai space. Human agents who had been sleeping for years woke up. They had been sent long ago, hidden among traitors and refugees and diplomats. Just in case. Always just in case. Now they received their orders, and they began to work. They mapped military bases. They tracked supply lines. They found the homes of every commander who had given the order to fire. They found the schools where Vrethkai children learned that humans were weak. Prey to be conquered. They sent their information home, and they waited. High Commandant Zethvora was celebrating his great victory when his intelligence officer brought him a report. Human communications had gone silent. Their trading ships had disappeared. Their diplomats had left every Concordat station. They are hiding, Zethvora laughed. The soft creatures are afraid. His intelligence officer was not laughing. He was holding the report with shaking hands. Commandant, our deep space sensors have detected movement. At the edge of human space. How many ships? The officer swallowed. All of them, Commandant. Every human ship we have ever tracked. Military and civilian. They have all gathered. And they are moving toward us. Zethvora felt the first cold touch of something he had not felt in a very long time. Fear. 3 months after the massacre on Kepler 442b, the Vrethkai Dominion waited for war. Admiral Krixthol commanded the border defense fleet from his flagship, the Worldbreaker. 200 of the most powerful warships in the Dominion floated in perfect formation, their weapons ready, their crews eager. They had heard the rumors about humans. They did not believe them. Anything on sensors? Krixthol asked. Nothing, Admiral. No human ships detected in range. Krixthol relaxed in his command chair. The humans were afraid. They were gathering their forces, yes, but they would not attack the Dominion directly. No sane species would attack the Dominion directly. They would negotiate. They would pay tribute. They would beg for peace like all the others. He closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, there was a human sitting in the chair across from him. Krixthol screamed and reached for his weapon, but his hand would not move. He looked down and saw blood pouring from his throat. He had not even felt the cut. Around the bridge, his entire command crew lay dead. 50 Vrethkai warriors killed without a sound. The human sat perfectly still, watching him die with eyes that held no emotion at all. How? Krixthol managed to whisper through the blood. The human leaned forward. She was small, fragile-looking. She should not have been able to kill 50 warriors. She should not have been able to get onto his ship. She should not have been able to do any of this. We walked onto your ship while your crew slept, she said. We have been here for 3 days, waiting, watching, learning. Crickstill's vision was fading. The world was going dark. Your fleet is about to learn that we do not fight the way you expect. We do not line up our ships and trade fire like honorable warriors. We are not honorable. We are not warriors. We are something much worse. She smiled. It was not a kind smile. We are humans. And this is just the beginning. Across the Vreth-Kai border fleet, chaos erupted. Human strike teams that had been hiding for days emerged from shadows. They killed command crews. They sabotaged engines. They locked doors and vented compartments to space. The Vreth-Kai had prepared for a fleet battle. They were not prepared for monsters inside their own ships. 40-7 warships died in the first hour. Not from enemy fire, but from within. Human teams rigged reactors to overload. They crashed ships into each other. They sent false commands that caused friendly fire. The Vreth-Kai could not fight an enemy they could not see. Then the human fleet arrived. Admiral Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the UTN Vengeance. Around her, 1,000 human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They were not as big as Vreth-Kai ships. They were not as heavily armed. They did not need to be. Admiral, her tactical officer, reported. Enemy fleet is in chaos. 40% of their ships are disabled or destroyed. The rest are trying to regroup. Do not give them time, Chan said. Her voice was ice. All ships, attack pattern Omega. No mercy. No prisoners. No survivors. The human fleet did not fight fair. They targeted engines first, leaving ships stranded. They targeted life support, letting crews suffocate. They targeted escape pods, ensuring no one got away. They did everything the Galactic Concordat had banned 1,000,000 years ago. And they did it with cold precision. But the worst part was the broadcasts. Every Vreth-Kai ship received the same transmission on loop. The screams of dying commanders. The pleas for help that would never come. The sound of human soldiers laughing as they walked through blood-soaked corridors. The Vreth-Kai were warriors. They had conquered 1,000 worlds. They had never known fear. Now they knew it. High Commandant Zethvora received word of the border disaster in his command center on the Vreth-Kai homeworld. He could not believe what he was hearing. 160 ships destroyed. He shouted. In a single engagement? Yes, Commandant. The humans did not engage in conventional combat. They infiltrated our vessels. They attacked from within. Our warriors never had a chance to fight. Zethvora felt his scales tighten with fear. This was not possible. Humans were soft. Humans were weak. Humans were prey. Send reinforcements. Double our border defenses. Triple them. Whatever it takes. Commandant, we cannot. We are receiving reports from our colony worlds. Human ground forces have landed on 6 planets simultaneously. Ground forces? We have millions of warriors on those worlds. His officer hesitated. The reports are difficult to believe, Commandant. Show me. The footage was from a security camera on Vrethkal Prime, a fortress world that had never fallen in battle. It showed a human advance on a fortified position. The Vreth-Kai defenders outnumbered the humans 10-1. They had heavy weapons, armored vehicles, air support. The humans charged anyway. They ran through plasma fire that should have killed them. They kept fighting after being shot, after being cut, after being burned. They climbed walls with bare hands and broken bones. They pulled Vreth-Kai warriors from their vehicles and killed them with knives and fists and rocks. A single human female took a plasma blast to the chest. She fell. Then she got back up, grabbed a wounded Vreth-Kai officer, and snapped his neck with her bare hands before collapsing again. They fought for 19 hours, the officer said quietly. Without rest, without food, without water, When reinforcements arrived, the humans had taken the fortress. They were covered in blood, mostly not their own. Some of them were still standing despite wounds that should have been fatal. They were smiling, Commandant. They were smiling. Zethfura watched another video of Rethkai General, one of the most decorated warriors in the Dominion, surrendering his garrison to a human force 1/10 his size. The general's hands were shaking. His voice was broken. "You do not understand," the general said to the camera. "They are not soldiers. They are something else. Something we have no word for. We killed them, and they kept coming. We hurt them, and they laughed. We outnumbered them, and it did not matter. We cannot fight them. We cannot stop them. We can only pray they will accept our surrender." Zethfura turned off the display. For the first time in his very long life, he understood that he had made a terrible mistake. He had looked at humans and seen only their soft bodies, their short lives, their primitive technology. He had not seen what was inside them. "Contact our allies in the Concordat," he ordered. "Tell them we need help. Tell them the humans are—" "Commandant," his communication officer interrupted. "We have received a message from the human fleet." "What does it say?" The officer was pale. His hands trembled as he read. "It says, you killed 340,000 of us. We have killed 3 million of you. We are not even close to finished. Surrender is no longer an option. We do not want your surrender. We want you to understand. And we are very good teachers." The message was signed by Admiral Sarah Chun. Beneath her name was a photograph. It was a little girl on a bicycle, smiling in the sun. Maya Chun, age 9. One of 340,000 reasons why the Vrethkai Dominion was about to learn the true nature of humanity. 8 months into the war, the galaxy could not look away. The Galactic Concordat Senate was in permanent emergency session. Representatives from 4,000 species argued and shouted and demanded action. But no one could agree on what action to take. "We must intervene," Senator Vrixnol of the Halorian Collective shouted from the central podium. "The humans are committing atrocities. They are violating every law of civilized warfare. They must be stopped." "And who will stop them?" the Kathrani ambassador asked quietly. "You, Senator? Your species? Will you send your fleets against the humans while they are still hungry for blood?" Vrixnol fell silent. "I thought not." Across the galaxy, refugees from Vrethkai space flooded every station and colony that would take them. They were not all Vrethkai. Many other species had lived under the Dominion's rule. Now they fled with stories that no one wanted to believe. A Moldovax trader told of a human squad that captured a Vrethkai hunting party. The humans were outnumbered 8-1. They had only primitive chemical weapons and bladed tools. They killed every Vrethkai warrior in under 3 minutes. A Halorian scientist reported that humans could control their own fear. They could choose not to feel it. They could walk into certain death with calm hearts and steady hands. "They are broken inside," she said, "in ways that make them perfect killers." A Vrethkai survivor, a young warrior who had escaped from a human prison ship, could not stop shaking when he spoke. "They do not hate us," he whispered. "That is the worst part. They do not hate us. They are just doing a job. We are nothing to them. Just work to be done. Just a lesson to be taught." The stories spread. They grew. Some were true. Some were exaggerated. It did not matter. The legend was becoming larger than the reality. In the Senate, the Kathrani ambassador finally released the classified files that his people had kept hidden for 2 centuries. He did it because he knew the galaxy needed to understand what it was watching. "These are the complete studies of humanity," he announced. "Everything we have learned in 200 years of observation. I release them now because the Vrethkai did not have access to them. Perhaps if they had, they would have made different choices. The files spread across every network in civilized space. Billions of beings read them. What they found changed everything. Humans had nearly destroyed themselves. Multiple times. They had built weapons of mass destruction and used them on their own cities. They had fought world wars that killed hundreds of millions. They had created poisons and plagues and machines of death, all aimed at each other, and they had survived it all. They had walked on their moon in primitive, tin cans powered by controlled explosions. They had done it because someone said it was impossible, and humans hated that word. They had eradicated diseases that killed millions. They had split the atom and harnessed the power of stars. They had created artificial minds and decoded the blueprint of life itself, all in 1 century. 1 single century of impossible achievement after impossible achievement. But the most terrifying section of the files was titled Human Military Psychology. It explained that humans did not think of war the way other species did. For most species, war was a negotiation by other means. You fought until one side had an advantage. Then you negotiated. You traded territory and resources and pride. Humans did not do this. When humans went to war, truly went to war, they fought to end wars. They did not want victory. They wanted their enemies to lose so completely that they would never be a threat again. They called this unconditional surrender. They called it total war. They had done it to each other. Now they were doing it to the HFY. High Commandant Zethvora read the Kathrani files from his underground bunker on the HFY homeworld. He had moved there 3 months ago when human strike teams began appearing on the planet itself. Nowhere was safe. Nowhere was hidden. The humans found everything. His empire was dying. 60% of his fleet was destroyed. A dozen colony worlds had fallen. Millions of HFY warriors were dead, and the humans showed no sign of slowing down. He had tried everything. He had offered to withdraw from human space. He had offered to pay compensation. He had offered territory, resources, weapons, slaves. The humans refused it all. "We do not want your things," Admiral Chun had told him in their only direct communication. "We want something else." "What?" Zethvora had asked. "What do you want?" "Name it and it is yours." Chun had looked at him with eyes that held nothing but cold emptiness. "We want you to understand. We want your children to understand. We want your children's children to understand. We want everyone in this galaxy to understand what happens when you kill ours. And when you understand, when you truly understand, then we will be done." Now Zethvora stared at reports that showed human ships gathering above his homeworld. Thousands of them. The entire human fleet, arrayed in perfect formation around the planet where 15 billion HFY lived. They had broken through every defense. They had destroyed every ship. They had cut off every escape route. The HFY homeworld was surrounded, isolated, and helpless. Admiral Sarah Chun appeared on his screen. She was older now. 8 months of war had put lines on her face. But her eyes were the same. Cold, calm, patient. "High Commandant Zethvora," she said. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your colonies have fallen. Your allies have abandoned you. You have no options left." Zethvora felt terror in his heart. Real terror. The kind he had not felt since he was a hatchling. "Please," he said. A word he had never spoken in his life. "Please. I have 1 billion hatchlings on this world. Civilians. They did nothing wrong. If you must have revenge, take me. Take the commanders. But spare the innocent." Chum was silent for a long moment. "You killed our children," she said finally. "You burned them while they played in parks and slept in their beds. You did it to teach us a lesson about the power of the HFY Dominion." Zethvora closed his eyes. This was the end. This was extinction. Now, Chun continued, we will teach you a lesson about us. The communication ended. Zethvora looked up at the sky, where thousands of human warships blotted out the stars. He thought of the billion children below him. He thought of everything his species had built over 10,000 years. He waited for the fire to fall, but the fire did not come. Instead, transport ships descended from the human fleet. Thousands of them. They landed on the surface of the Vrethkai homeworld, and from them came not weapons, not bombs, not death-humans, millions of humans. Soldiers and workers and doctors and teachers. They spread across the planet, establishing positions at every major city. Zethvora stared at his screens in confusion. He had expected annihilation. He had expected revenge. He had expected humanity to do what the Vrethkai would have done, destroy everything and leave only ash. He did not expect them to land. He did not expect them to stay. The galaxy expected fire. The galaxy expected death. The galaxy expected humanity to do what every conquering species had always done, destroy their enemies completely and claim their worlds. The galaxy was wrong. On the Vrethkai homeworld, human soldiers did not burn cities. They occupied them. They set up checkpoints and established order. They brought food and medicine to civilians who had been told humans were monsters. High Commandant Zethvora was found in his bunker. He expected to be executed on the spot. Instead, human soldiers placed him in restraints and transported him to a holding facility. They treated his wounds. They gave him food and water. They did not torture him. This confused him more than anything else. Admiral Sarah Chun landed on the planet 3 days later. She walked through the capital city, past burned buildings and broken streets. Vrethkai civilians stared at her with fear and confusion. Human soldiers kept them back, but not with violence, just with calm words and steady hands. She came to the central square, where a platform had been built. Cameras from every major Concordat news network were pointed at that platform. Billions of beings across the galaxy were watching. Chun stepped onto the platform. Behind her, human soldiers brought out High Commandant Zethvora and 17 other Vrethkai commanders. The ones who had given the order to fire on Kepler 442b. The ones who had watched the massacre and laughed. People of the Vrethkai Dominion, Chun said. Her voice was broadcast across the planet and beyond. People of the Galactic Concordat, I speak to you now not as a conqueror, but as a teacher. She paused. The galaxy held its breath. 1 year ago, these beings ordered the death of 340,000 humans. They killed our children. They burned our cities. They did this because they thought we were weak. They did this because they thought we would not fight back. They did this because they believed that power comes from the ability to destroy. She looked at Zethvora. His yellow eyes were empty. He had expected death from the moment of his capture. He still did not understand why it had not come. We could have destroyed your homeworld. We have the weapons. We have the ships. We have the rage. No one in this galaxy could have stopped us. We could have turned your planet to glass and salted the ground so nothing would ever grow here again. We could have killed every Vrethkai in existence and erased your species from the stars. The watching billions believed her. They had seen what humans could do. They knew she spoke the truth. But we did not do that. We will not do that. Do you understand why? Silence. Because destruction is easy. Any species with enough weapons can destroy. Any fool can burn and kill and ruin. The Vrethkai proved that when they attacked our colony. They thought destruction was power. She shook her head slowly. They were wrong. True power is not the ability to destroy. True power is the ability to destroy and choose not to. True power is mercy that you have earned the right to give. True power is building something better from the ashes of something terrible. She turned to face the cameras directly. We are humans. We are not monsters, though we can be when we must. We are not saints, though we try to be when we can. We are creatures who have looked into the darkness of our own hearts and learned to control what we found there. We choose who we want to be. And today, we choose to be teachers instead of executioners. Behind her, the trials began. It took 6 months. Every commander who had participated in the massacre was tried according to human law and concordat law together. Evidence was presented. Witnesses testified. Defense arguments were heard. Everything was fair. Everything was documented. In the end, High Commandant Zethfara and 16 others were found guilty of crimes against sentient beings. They were executed, not in anger, not in revenge, but in cold, procedural justice. Their deaths were quick and clean. More mercy than they had shown their victims. One commander was found not guilty. Evidence showed he had argued against the attack and been overruled. The humans let him go. This surprised the galaxy more than anything else. As the trials ended, the rebuilding began. Human engineers worked alongside Rethkai workers to repair damaged cities. Human teachers opened schools where Rethkai children learned what had happened and why. Human doctors treated the sick and wounded without asking which side they had fought for. The occupation lasted 5 years. In that time, the Rethkai government was reformed. Military leaders who had supported the old ways were removed. New leaders who wanted peace were supported. Laws were changed. Attitudes shifted. When the humans finally left, they did not take territory. They did not demand tribute. They did not leave behind puppet governments or military bases. They left behind books, schools, and a generation of Rethkai who understood that power was not about destruction. In the Galactic Concordat, a new statute was proposed by the Kathrani and passed without a single vote against it. Article 7742, known across the galaxy as the Human Provision. It stated simply, no species shall engage in hostile action against humanity or human-protected territories. Violators will receive no Concordat assistance or intervention. This provision exists not to protect humans, but to protect everyone else. 20 years later, a Rethkai hatchling named Kira Volume sat in a classroom in the rebuilt capital city. She was learning about history, about the war, about the strange creatures who had conquered her world and then given it back. Teacher, she asked, raising her small clawed hand. The humans who rebuilt our cities, why did they help us? We attacked them first. We killed their children. Why did they not destroy us? Her teacher, an old Rethkai who remembered the occupation, was quiet for a moment. Because they are humans, she said finally. And humans understand something that we did not. What is that? That anyone can destroy. It takes no special strength to kill. Any fool with a weapon can end a life. But it takes true power to choose mercy when you have earned the right to vengeance. It takes true strength to build instead of burn. The teacher looked out the window at the city that had been rebuilt with human hands. The humans could have ended us. Every other conquering species in history would have ended us. But they chose to teach us instead. They showed us that there is another way. A better way. Kira Volume thought about this for a long time. Are we friends with the humans now? She asked. Her teacher smiled. It was a sad smile, full of memories of fire and fear and the long, slow work of healing. We are learning to be. They are patient teachers. And we are trying to be good students. Far across the galaxy, Admiral Sarah Chun, now old and retired, sat in a garden on Earth. In her hands was a photograph. A little girl on a bicycle, smiling in the sun. Maya, her daughter. The reason for everything? Chun looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, on a world that had once been an enemy, Rethkai children were learning about humans. learning that power was not destruction, learning that mercy was not weakness, learning that the galaxy was bigger than hate. Maya would have liked that, Chun thought. Maya had always believed in second chances. She put the photograph in her pocket and closed her eyes. The war was over. The lesson had been taught. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the deadliest creatures in the universe had proven that they could also be the kindest. That was the true nature of humanity. The capacity for terrible violence. The capacity for tremendous mercy. And the wisdom to know when to use each one. The Vrethkai had triggered a war with the deadliest creatures in the universe. And those creatures had won by choosing not to be deadly at all.